Global happenings today. We communicate, we analyze global news. Stay tuned. Hello guys, welcome to Global Happenings. Today we have a trending news here for you, and it's going to be in form of discussion because it's something that troubles the man a great deal. Now, the headline of the news reads, "Prosecute Attorney General of Lagos as you did with Funke Akindele." And the question is, why is it that Nigerians are demanding that the man should be prosecuted immediately? Now, first of all, I would like to, as you're looking at the pictures that are passing there, you're going to see a picture where he was talking to the press. It was like a press conference. But considering the fact that the case that he was handling had a lot to do with the lockdown in orders, and not just the lockdown order, with the fact that the reason for the lockdown order was so that we can possibly avoid any form of proximity, and that's why one of the key characteristics of this lockdown is social distancing, so that we can possibly prevent the spread of the virus. And also the government had demanded that any gathering that is more than 20 people, that such a person who is behind that gathering must be prosecuted. Now, looking at the picture, I allow the picture to stay so that you can take a look at this picture. How many press persons are here? How many journalists are here if you want to finger count them? And guess what? They are surrounding him front and back. They are surrounding. So apart from anything, he, the Attorney General, should be prosecuted for allowing for this kind of press conference and allowing this level of closeness. If, for example, there is any press person here who is who has the virus, I'm talking about the COVID-19 virus, if the person is here, automatically he will use this opportunity to spread it to all and sundry. I can assure you that this press conference was not a 1 second press conference. It wasn't a 1 minute press conference. It must have taken close to like 20 minutes, 10 minutes. So during this time, suddenly people will cough, people will even sneeze, and people, if you look at the people, none of them are with gloves. None of them are with, face masks. Virtually all of them are without such thing. Even him, if you look very closely at the man who is in charge, who is doing the talking, he has a face mask. He has a face mask, but he had to lower the face mask. Imagine if he has the virus, as he is speaking, he will be infecting all the journalists who were there present. So the question is, what do you really term social distancing? What do you term, lockdown order? What were the characteristics of this lockdown order? Does it only apply to those who are in their houses? Does it not apply to virtually everybody and virtually all the activities that we carry out? Is it only meant for, partying? If you are going out for party, that's when you have to observe it? Or is it something that we are meant to live with and we must observe wherever we are, and which must also affect virtually all the activities that we carry out in the day? Even if you are interacting with a friend, you need to keep a distance from the person. No hugging, no closeness, and all of that. If you look at this picture, you will see that all the press, and whether it is photographer, those trying to film him and all of that, they are almost hugging themselves. It's so obvious here. They are hugging themselves just to show you that this man has no right to prosecute Funke Akindele, despite the fact that, he has the right. Let's not say he doesn't have the right. He has the right to prosecute Funke Akindele. But at the same time, he must also be prosecuted for allowing for a press conference where everybody are hugging themselves. And now, apart from being prosecuted, if we must also follow the judgment, the verdict that he gave in respect to Funke Akindele's issue, he must also provide all the names of all these journalists that were here present, because that was the same thing they said about Funke Akindele, that she must provide all the phone numbers of those who were in attendance in that party. This man ought to do the same thing, because whether you like it or not, the instruction have been passed out, and we are meant to maintain this time, consciously or unconsciously. Whether the meeting is a well-organized meeting or not an organized meeting, it is the people must be conscious enough, to obey the instruction, and him to be that he understand that he just prosecuted one who was guilty of, who went against the lockdown instruction, which also involved the fact that she violated the social distancing instruction. And he should be so careful that at this point where it seems everybody seems to be running towards him, he will say, please, you have to observe social distancing. Everybody, please, go away. If you want to get a press conference from me, you must make sure you maintain 1 meter distance from each other, so that we will not break the social distancing regulation which is currently running, especially in respect to this COVID-19. That was expectation, but he never said all of that, and that is why Nigerians are really, really angry. And with this video is already very viral now, and people are demanding that the man should be prosecuted. I'm going to read some of the things that are said by Nigerians, and I want you to judge for yourself, because what is good for the goose is good for the gander. If you feel that Funke Akindele has gone against it, then it must be observed. We must learn to teach it. It must not be when one video goes viral and they say, hey, this man has committed it, everybody should go against it. Brother, as far as you have done something that is against it, you must also be prosecuted. All right, let's look at what Nigerians are saying. This one says, I can't wait for the government to use the same energy that they use in going after Funke Akindele to go after the Attorney General. The law is the law, and that's true. The law is the law. It doesn't exempt anybody. If the axe have been, put on the head of anybody who goes and does this evil, it must be put on everybody's head who violates that same regulation. All right, we are still going to read other comment by Nigerian. This one say, was he the one that asked for the gathering of the press, or the press politically looking for a reason to say they were bad because of their criticism? There is no baby press. They are all adult to understand social distancing. Good enough, brother, but let the truth also be told here. If the press are not observing social distancing, it's your duty as they are drawing closer to tell them you won't attend to anybody. Number one, they are not wearing their face mask. Number two, they are not observing social distancing. Even in some shops, if you go there, you realize that the owners of the shop have already deliberately make sure that there is a 1 meter, distancing that they have provided. Someone replied, the guy who said that the people who attended it are adult enough to know something about society. He said, no excuse is tenable for any crime. Law is law and it must be obeyed. Are you aware Scotland chief medical officer resigned after she flouted her own advice to stay at home by traveling to her second home on 2 successive weekends? But this is Nigeria, where anything goes. Imagine somebody had to point it out that the Scotland chief medical officer had to resign. Why? Because she had contravened one of the things that she had said, advising people to stay back at home. She had to resign. This is just to show that the law must not be effective on one side and be ineffective at the other end. Another person responded to the person and said, don't be funny. If there is an arrangement for the press briefing with spacing for a particular number of people, and the Pr0security were given instruction, it will be organized. We have seen press briefings with social distancing in other countries. Are they God? Exactly. This one say, tell her what about inside the courtroom? Was there any social distancing? You see that these guys are overly guilty. You understand? They are overly guilty. Akindele shouldn't, if she has been prosecuted, every other person that have violated it must also be prosecuted. As simple as that. No two ways about it. There is no need trying to play around words. Now, another person said 2 things. Firstly, all the journalists, including the Attorney General, should be quarantined. And that is true. Secondly, they should be charged for violating the social distancing law, like if you agree. My brother, I like it because it is absolutely true. It's not only for Funke Akindele. It must also happen to, we need to come to a point. I saw one of the posts of Loretta when she came out and she was talking about social distancing, and she said something that starting with a high-class actress like Funke Akindele is a pointer to the fact that we are getting it right. All right, if we started with her, then the Attorney General should also queue up behind her. Another person needs to prosecute the Attorney General of Lagos State and all the journalists that were there present, because they have also done what? They have gone against the social distancing instruction given. They must be quarantined so that for 14 days we are sure that, this one said the Lagos State AG sardine in the midst of 60 people explaining how Funke Akindele violated the social distancing law with 20 people and must face the full weight of the law. Bakam, that is just it. I think this is a good one, and if it is not done, then the government must call off the verdict that they put upon Funke Akindele, because I believe that Nigerians will make these things to train as much as possible so that the so-called Attorney General of Lagos State should also go through the same slamming that she gave to Funke Akindele. This one say, you mean the AG invited the press to cover him up, or should he just sue the media to produce all the journalists that violated his right or social distance and life? Prove that he caused this. Tell us he is guilty. How you saw how spaced the court was during the hearing. My brother, if they come to you and said, we want to interview you, don't grant them any form of press conference. Don't even give them time to interview. Tell them, hey, please, I don't want you guys to, as you are walking, you are making progress. Say, please, security, clear them off. They are violating social distancing order. And if you do that, wow, Nigerians will thumb you up. And guess what? It would have been everywhere. But this one, he stood by and began to speak. So it clearly shows that he has given in to it. Anything that you do not want, you disallow. But from what we are seeing, he clearly allowed the press conference to take place. So that is to show that he is overly guilty. I'm going to read this last one, and then we give you a chance also to go to our comment section and interact. This one said, did he invite the press to a party? Did you know that the press was exempted from the lockdown as essential service? Should he have asked his orderly to dispense the journalists and not answer their question? How would SR have reported that Lagos AG assaulted journalists on duty? My brother, you do not understand what we are saying here. Let me just read some of the response that Nigerians have given. This one said, I believe he knows what is right at this unusual time. He should encourage them to maintain social distancing, including himself. Obviously true. This one said, are they school children? Lai Mohammed has done that, and it isn't part of his duty to do so. This one said, let's call a spade a spade. They arrested her for the same crime they committed. They knew they gonna have the press around, but made no provision as to social distancing them from each other. This is wrong on all levels. She should be forgiven, period. This one says, yes, of course, he also have violated the rule. And 1,000 other persons are replying the person who just asked that question. My brother, I think as at this point, I want to leave it for you guys to judge. Do you think that this Lagos State Attorney General should be prosecuted for violating the social distancing order, or do you think that him and all